Here we have a large 4-foot diameter redwood log, ready to be milled up. I'll be showing you a few tricks as we saw through the log. But before we get into the milling side of things, I'd like to show you a few upgrades and new processes. Computer sizing improvements. We have just updated the program a little so that you now have a preset option. Instead of toggling up and down to key in your target sizes, you can preset 4 buttons to your most common size sawn, simply by switching modes. So we'll go up to here and we'll hit that little button there. So these are your incremental movements which you can program for each of these buttons. But if you hit that button there again, you can change each of these buttons to represent whatever sizes you need. So I'll be doing a lot of 23 millimeter boards, so I'll just change that to 23, and 50, 100, and 150. So that's set. So now I could just hit that button there and it'll go to 23, and then I go curve enter. So you don't need to toggle up and down anymore. 150, so we hit that, enter. So pretty cool. Stop that. Let's go to horizontal. And you can change the horizontal screen as well. So you actually have 8 buttons to adjust. So if we go here again, 25, 50, let's make that 23. So it just speeds up the process. So we are now in horizontal. We're moving right. So let's go to horizontal. We're moving right now. And let's say I want to go 23 mil. There you go, curve enter, and it moves over 23. Hit it again, it'll go to the mark. Change direction, let's go 150, hit it, there you go. So you're not having to toggle up and down or touch the screen often to switch between sizes. We have also added an inbuilt limit so that you can set your stop depth and height. This prevents accidentally bumping into the top and bottom end stops. The lift motor is very strong, so it could stretch your chain or damage the brackets. To set that limit, you just go here, you go to config, and you go Sawmill limits. So it's already set, but as soon as it hits the limit, the little green button lights and it stops. The same for down. So it'll get down to your nominated stop and it'll limit out. So that's a nice little improvement that eliminates possibility of damage. I would also like to show you through the design and the basics of operation. So the first thing I do is I switch to either vertical or horizontal axis. So if I'm going horizontal, I'll switch to horizontal. The screen comes up here with horizontal, and I can hold that down for 3 seconds, and that'll clear your top screen there. So you know exactly what you're moving. So then I select the direction, and normally when you're moving horizontally, you move to the right. So and we're moving to the left at the moment. So now it's showing right. So I'll hit the 23 millimeters and I'll press curve enter. Doing multiple boards the same size, you don't even have to look at that screen. You just hit the little green button again. Alternatively, you can hit the HI enter or the VI enter for sectional cuts. This option is best for wide horizontal boards and hard to cut vertical boards. So here we go, we hit the 150 wide, and then instead of hitting curve enter, we hit this H ink enter, right? And that'll go to 1/3 of the cut. So that allows you to go fly down there in a shallow cut, you hit it again as it's sawing, and bring it back. So it's actually utilizing the return cut as well. Finally, you finish that cut. So it's a 2-run process. It makes that process very simple without thinking. Now I'll just toggle back with the joystick. The joystick was introduced from customers' feedback. You know, when you're wearing gloves, it's just a lot easier to actuate over buttons. A nice advantage is when you are sawing the same boards repetitively. You don't have to key anything. Just simply hit the curve enter button at the start of every board. So I would summarize the advantage of this system in priority as ease of use with push button control, consistent accuracy regardless of the operator you have behind it, quicker production, there's no pause between cuts, and section sawing is a huge advantage. Although we've had good success of joining these beams in the past, occasionally customers have difficulty with this process, typically in the longer 30-foot beam configuration. and specifically in maintaining the desired crown. We've had a few customers suggest some improvements to make this process easier. We have introduced these new shim plates, which now locate between each join, right here and there. These shims provide the correct crown without the need to measure anything. We have also added a tension cable, which now pulls the beams together. This removes stress from the join screws and helps maintain the crown. The result is a very easy and repeatable join. The tension cable runs through here, behind that washer, through the middle compartment to the other end and gets tensioned together. And by tensioning it together, it pulls the bottoms of the beam, providing a natural crown. Recently, we've optioned to move away from the plastic rollers on the top rail. Typically, these rollers would last anywhere between 50 and 200 hours. For those operating in a commercial capacity, this can become frustrating. We now fit all mills with steel roller bearings on this edge. The top standard rail life will offer 500 to 1,000 trouble-free hours. Once the rail begins to wear, you may now purchase these new stainless steel runners. So we've just opened up this face here. I've actually used the top boards for bunks for all the timber that's going to come out of this log. I've widened the face enough to drop it down now. So I'm going to drop it down 4 inches, and I'm going to do a series of vertical cuts horizontally. And that'll open up the face a little bit wider, and then I'll drop down to 6 inches all the way through. So the next one, I'll show you how we do multiple boards, which reduces the need to swing it over and over. So I'd race down 4 inches, I'd come back 4 inches, race down 4 inches, so to speak. So from this point, we just toggle that joystick to the left, and then I switched it to vertical, and I can hit that at the same time. So it lowers and moves to the left at the same time. So just another quick little hint, even though I'm going to start vertical first at the other end, flip horizontal finish, I like to do the opening cut, cutting horizontal first, finishing vertical. That way you don't eject that weird looking material on the side there. Once that's cleared out of the way, then I drive it to the other end, then I start my vertical first. So once again, We've opened the face up. She's a very wide face now, and now I can drop down to do my 6-inch vertical cuts. So I'll drop it down and do a series of vertical 6-inch cuts. This time we'll do it traditional, vertical first, horizontal finish, and stack one board at a time. You can only carry so much. So before I drop it down into the next cuts, I just thought I'd show you how the insert tool works. So to take these insert teeth off on the log, what I do is I drive the saw onto the slab face, drop it down just so it's touching it. Then I can use little screws to stop the blade from rotating. And then from then you just undo the little Allen screws right here. And if that doesn't work, if it's stripped, you just punch it straight through onto the block of timber. Now to remove this, we've just introduced these new pins. They used to have a little sort of stud at the end of it, which quite often bent. So now we're using these high tensile screws that seem to really work and last. And it goes through that little hole there. So that goes in there, and then you screw this in to the hole, and you lock it up. So lock that up there like that. You want to get the blade out a little bit. So this would be on the face over here, and then once the grub screws out, it's just a matter of levering that in. So the process is quite simple, and we've refined it a little bit. So I'll take that out again. You can do this in a vise, but you know, if it's on the mill, you don't want it to rotate. Park the blade on the actual slab face. Punch those little grub screws out if they're stripped, or just use an Allen key, and yeah, just switch out your teeth. Pretty simple. So once again, we just toggle left like this. Switch it to vertical. This time we're doing 150 down. Curve enter, so you can move both axes at the same time. Line that blade up to your first cut. Remember to do the first cut horizontal, finish vertical, then drive it down the other end for the start. All right, start her up. So another beautiful log face here, ready for the next drop, and a bunch of sawn timber in a very quick amount of time. Look at that face. We'll jog it to the left and lower at the same time. The settings are already preset from the previous drop, so I'll just jog left, switch to vertical, and hit curve enter. And that'll lower all the way down, ready for the next cut. And again, horizontal first, finish vertical to get rid of that first bit of rubbish. So it's lowered vertical, now I'm just lining up the first cut. I went a bit deep before, so I'll back it off a little bit, just to the edge of the wane right there, and we're good to go. Water on. Here you go, another nice slab face there. And remembering, at any point, if you've got a forklift or something like that, you can flip this over and create one slab for every log without even needing to have a chainsaw slabber. So a swing blade will give you one slab for every log, if you've got something that you can rotate the log with. There you go, beautiful. And again, just actuate it with the joystick to the left, flick to horizontal or vertical, already pre-programmed, hit the go button and it goes to your next cut because it's pre-programmed from your last movement. So again, we're just lining up that blade to that first cut right there, and we're ready to go. And we're off again. Water on. Model. So now we're getting a little bit low here. I think I'm going to drop it down maybe 4 inches. And after I drop it down, I'm going to check to see if that blade swings clear of the concrete there. And if it is a bit close, what I can do is I just lift it up to swing and lower it down. So I do all my vertical 4-inch cuts first, swing it, when it's lifted, lower it back down and cut them free. So that's how you deal with logs that are on the ground and you don't want to swing over the dirt. But specifically, if you're over concrete, make sure you don't swing it. So I'm just going to toggle back and I'm going to hit the 4-inch button, curve enter, and we'll check that blade clearance there. You can also set your depth stop, wherever you need it to be, so it's just above the concrete. So there's your 4-inch, and we'll just double check. Yeah, so we got about 2 inches clearance, and it's probably a good thing just to, shut it off down there, manually swing it over, just to double check that in too. So here we go. And this time we'll be doing a series of vertical cuts, maybe 3 at a time, and cut them all free. So we'll get through it pretty quick. And I'm going to do all 2-inch stuff. I usually just hit 900 and it goes all the way up for your next log automatically. Resets to the next log. Here's the rubbish. Not much left from that. And there's the timber from that log. As for the fuel, we put 10 liters in it before we started it up, and looks like we've used about 3 liters. And that's cutting all inch stock. Now the great thing about that limit is it'll just keep going up until it hits that limit. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. Same with the downward motion. And there you have it. It's a lot of timber. And there's your accuracy. I don't know if you can see. There you go. I'd say there'd be 3 cubes there, so maybe 1,200 board foot.